And I was kind of shocked. I was like, did he just say the N-word? And then I was like, do I correct him on this? Or what do I say? And then he continued going and he goes, like, for example, it goes like, they could, nowadays people, they can say stuff about us whenever, like they can say like whatever, I don't know if he said cracker or something.
Tell us about a moment where you wish you would have said something and you didn't. There's nothing better than this. Say what you mean. 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 Hey, what's up? It's your girl, Aida Rodriguez, and welcome to another episode of Say What You Mean, where my friends stop by to tell the things that they wish they would have said at the time they should have said them. But it's never too late to get some things off of your chest. So today, like always, I start with my very own story of wishing that I said what I meant when I told a very good friend of mine that her makeup was beautiful and she actually looked like a clown. And I don't mean that in the derogatory way. She literally looked like a clown. Her eyebrows were drawn on. And I just felt like we were running behind and I was being selfish because I wanted to get there. So I let her go that way, and I didn't say that the girl at the Mac counter did a really bad job. But she also had access to a mirror, and she approved the look, so I just seconded it. And then when she came back, and after a couple of days, and she saw some pictures, she was like, yo, I actually kind of look like a clown. And I didn't say anything then either, so my bad, Giselle. I really wish I would have told you, yes, you did look like a clown. And for some reason, you've been doing your eyebrows like that ever since. So stop! I'm so glad I got that off my chest. I'm so excited to have this guest on the show today because he's someone that I admire and that I respect. When we do comedy, people tell us, a lot of people always give us the coaching that we don't ask for, especially when you're a person of an ethnic community. Don't just talk about your people, the middle of the country. We've talked about this before. And quite honestly, I like talking about my community. They deserve to be brought to the light. And this is one of the people that gave me permission to do that. Smart comedy, funny comedy, thoughtful comedy, and comedy with heart. He has a special on Netflix called Immigrant, which I can relate to. An ongoing tour that's an international tour, which you can buy tickets for on mazjobrani.com and get all the information that you need. And he has a YouTube special called The Birds and the Bees. So please welcome to the show, Maz Jobrani.
Hi, Aida. I feel the same way about you. You're someone who I enjoy watching, just out there being your true self. I'm sorry I didn't dress up. Nowadays when I do podcasts, I don't know. I forget to dress up until I show up, and then they send me a clip, and then I go, I should have dressed nicer.
I think the thing about you that makes you is that you're your most authentic self. And I think that's why you resonate with people and they love you so much.
Well, I'll take it. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I got on some overalls.
Yeah, but you look good. Like you look like you could wear it here, or you could go like you could be like fancy kind of party somewhere. Nah. Not gown party, but like like a summery party somewhere, and you'd look great. I would be there right now, and I'd be like looking at my shoes, like, oh, they're too dirty, and I just judging myself. But forget it. Let's move on from how we look.
No, you got on
This is your chance to say what you mean. Say what you mean,
you got
Aida.
on the official shoes of white supremacists. The Asics.
Are they the Asics? Are white supremacists wearing Asics?
No, I don't know about that. I read something about how they said that, but that's stuff on the internet.
Listen, I'm taking it back right now because
love Asics.
No, I'm not taking the shoes back. I'm taking Asics back from the white supremacists.
Yes.
Don't even dare touch my Asics because Asics, I got it. I think it's a Japanese brand and it used to be, I think, the Tiger, whatever.
Yeah, that's nice.
Because when you read, because when you read Phil Knight's book, The Nike Guy, he talks about how he used to go to Japan and do business with them, and I think they originally wanted to buy Nike when it was really young. and he held on to it, and I think it worked out for him. But then again, when I was there, I was like, oh, these Asics are comfortable. So
Yeah, they got the
I've been
best
an Asics guy now for a while.
I love those shoes. And you know what? I don't believe it. I think those are internet rumors. They always give white people the best stuff.
Well, the problem is we're in a country that there's a lot of white people. So if enough white people buy anything, they've taken over that thing.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like if white people start eating the kebabs tomorrow, they'll be like, kebabs is a white thing. And I'll be like, no, it's a Persian thing.
Yeah.
But they own it because there's more of them.
Yeah, but it doesn't belong to them.
Does not belong to them. And that's how the world has become so messed up in the first place, because white people try to take things that don't belong to them. And then we have problems all over the world.
Including people.
Including people. And territory and oil. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I think I'm writing my new hour right here.
Do you feel like, do you find yourself more free now saying the things that you want to say as opposed to, let's say, 10 years ago?
A little yes and no. I mean, I think when I first started out, it was late 90s. I've been wanting to do stand-up for my whole life, but having immigrant parents that wanted me to be a lawyer, doctor, engineer, whatever, I was going another route. And then when I got into deciding to do this, I took a comedy class, and in the class they said, talk about what makes you specific. So I was talking about being Iranian, growing up Iranian, and then of course right around then was when the whole war on terror was beginning, and then it was 9/11 and all that stuff. So it was interesting because when like 9/11 happened, I was I was shocked as anybody else, and I felt as patriotic as anybody else. But then what happened was maybe 6 months or so later, when I saw that they were using it as an excuse to go into Iraq and go into these other places, I was like, oh wow, I got to comment on this. So I started trying to bring that point of view of the Middle Eastern American to the table, to go, look, we're not all bad, but you keep kicking us off airplanes, you keep portraying us badly. So early on, I think I felt like I was kind of saying what was on my mind early on. And I would say, if anything, now because of the barrage of how quickly people can come at you on social media, there's times when I might think twice before I say something, at least on social media, not necessarily stand-up, but on social media for sure, because I go, is it worth the headache I'm about to get by saying what I'm about to say? Do I need to say this?
It feels horrible when you second guess yourself, when you have an impulse to say something and you like, this is funny, this is clever. And then you're like, oh, but the squirrel people are going to get mad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or you say it. There's been times where I've said something and hadn't thought about the fact that maybe it's going to come across a certain way. And then you start getting attacked, and you want to be like, you want to be able to stop everybody who's coming at you to go, whoa, wait a minute. That's not what I meant. I meant this.
Yeah.
But it's too late. They're already coming at you. They're misinterpreting everything you've said. And they're claiming you're something. I mean, I always look at like the attack on Dr. Fauci. And I don't care where you stand on it, but this guy spent 40 years of his life studying, getting ready, like he was doing wax on, wax off for 40 years. He's like, one day when this fight comes, I'm your guy. And it comes, and he goes, do this. And then people are like, screw you. And then he's like, all right, well then do that. They're like, screw you. And the guy's like, and then they're like, you're in on it. You started. And he's like, I was trying to help. So if that guy's going through all that, he's an expert on this thing. We're all going to be attacked at some point, and they're going to put on you something that is completely opposite of what your intention was. Yeah. And I think that's where, if I've ever had friends that are in the middle of being attacked or something, I go, listen, try and get away from your phone for a day or two. And it's funny, it's interesting to see. It's kind of like, a pack of like, I guess, rabid dogs, or like if you have a bunch of animals going at, like if you get a bunch of birds going at a piece of bread, and then once that's gone, they just take off. So then they go find their other thing to go after. And you're like, oh, thank God.
That's the thing. It's like, it's a cycle. Also, I feel like it's another form of white supremacy in some ways, where now they weaponize. Because we're still marginalized. We're not the ruling class. We don't have the majority of the power. And now they're like, but you said you don't like cats, brown woman.
You're right.
And then you're like, what?
Right.
And then now there's this whole, you hate animals, and you go back to your country. I mean, the stuff that comes.
Let me piggyback on that. It's not just the white supremacy. I think it's what sucks is when you see that our own people are doing it.
For
and then you go, whoa, what the hell? What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
And that's where, like, sometimes when I see people that are we all have comedian friends, and you go, oh wow, that person's got. Their community has their back 100%. I go, oh, I'm so jealous of that. But then I know when I talk to that person, they're gonna go, oh no. I like a great example would be like Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is the biggest, star in the comedy world, right? And I know I don't sit there and read his comments, but I know that out of every 100 I love you, there's 5 or 6 are like this sellout or whatever. And so again, I just you really got to step away from it and just not. Because, like you said, ultimately, what it makes us do is second guess ourselves sometimes.
Oh yeah, I mean, Kevin Hart has goals for me. I'm waiting for somebody to call me an industry plant.
Yes,
that's how I know I made it.
Yeah,
that's how I know I made it.
Well, that's what it is. So first of all, I said so. I remember when early on in social media, I was like, oh my god, like I would read some comments and I get, oh man, I'm bummed out by it. And then I remember David Letterman was when he was still on air, and he goes, they just made Wi-Fi free in Central Park, which is great because I can take my laptop out during lunchtime and read all my hate mail.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I go, if I am getting people criticizing, I go, this guy every day goes out and offends somebody because it's his monologue.
Yeah.
And then I realized if you're getting attacked, that's actually good. That means more people know you than just your fans.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But then what's crazy is when they start, like you just said, they go into their conspiracy theories of like, oh, you're clearly, like recently, like there's part of the Persian community that supports Trump because they think that somehow he's going to get rid of the Islamic Republic of Iran, which I personally, they're an oppressive government, and I would love for them to be gone, and a democratic and free Iran to be a thing. But some of the people that are on the right really think that like Trump's going to do it. He hasn't. And then they don't like the left because they feel that the left, Jimmy Carter was a Democratic president when the revolution happened, and they feel that he was somehow involved in that. So anyway, if you support the Democrats, there's a part of the population that thinks that you're somehow in collaboration with the government of Iran. And so I forget what it was. I did some post like about either making fun of Trump or saying, oh, I like what Kamala said or something. And somebody wrote like, it's been shown that Iran is trying to infiltrate the elections. I wonder if Maz Jobrani is part of that. I'm like,
wow.
Really? Because I'm trying to do some stupid I go, you really are reading way too much into this tweet.
It's so weird. One of the things that I've always thought was interesting was right-wingers, right? Extreme right-wingers, super religious right-wingers believe that women should be oppressed, believe that are anti-queer people. They believe that women don't have a right to govern their bodies, but they hate extreme Muslims, right? And it's so they're so aligned, but they hate them. And I'm like, oh, because they're racist and they hate brown people.
They're racist. And also, I think, again, a lot of times whenever I do kind of an analysis of the whole thing, I try to reiterate. Now, before the Islamic Revolution in Iran, it wasn't a perfect country, but there were some more freedoms, especially for women. And then obviously once the Islamic Revolution happens, they first go after women, then they go after the LGBTQ community, then religious minorities, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that some Americans don't see that parallel, and I totally see it because I sit there and I go, Roe versus Wade, a majority of the country wanted a woman to have a right to choose.
That's right.
But a religious minority worked 50 years to get it overturned.
Right.
And now they got this Project 2025, you and I were talking about this, which has even more rights they want to take away. And it's a religious minority that wants to do that. So a lot of people don't think that it could happen. And maybe, like you said, there's that minority that want it to happen. They want everyone every day when kids are in school, they should be, reciting the Bible or whatever. I mean, that's the thing. Like in Iran, they learn, or in Afghanistan, they're learning the Quran, and you memorize it and you don't question it and all that. So I think that sometimes these people that, like you just said, are highly religious don't see the parallels of the totalitarian state that this could become.
It's that's a lot you said there, and I agree with you. And I think I hope that people start having more access to information, because I think the greatest threat to all of this is a lack of education and real information, information that's factual. That being said, because you do speak out a lot, Can you think of a time where you didn't speak out and you wish that you did?
You know, it's interesting. So I was there's a coffee shop I like to go to, and I was talking to this guy. I met him once before. He was speaking of, you know, he's a white guy, but he looked like, I'm gonna say his name was Chip. All right, and Chip looked like a super white guy. And we're in this world now. We're in California. We're in this world now where I think people have become a little more emboldened to say things. And in my mind, when I looked at him, I go, because again, we're in LA, so you think, oh, there's probably more left-leaning people than there are right-leaning people. But you're going to come across, I mean, there's a state of 40 million people. You're going to come across everything. And so I'd seen him before, and I met him once. And in my mind, I think I stereotyped him. I was like, this guy is like probably, you know, got a little MAGA in him somewhere, even though there's kind of a coffee shop that has kind of a liberal leaning to it. Not that it matters. I didn't care, but I'm stereotyping him the same way somebody might stereotype me. So I met him through this other guy who's there, and then like I came back a week or so later, and he saw me again. He goes, hey, when you were here last time, we were talking, and you said something. I forget. You said a quote, and I forget what it was, but I remember I wanted to write it down. I go, oh, you mean the Richard Pryor quote? He goes, yeah. I go, yeah. Richard Pryor had a joke where he said, my father died during sex, so he came and went at the same time.
Oh.
And this guy's a little more older school, this Chip guy.
So that's a real good joke for him.
So he's like, oh, that's a great joke. He's like, I love that, you know. So then we kept talking. And then at some point we started talking about some stocks, and he goes, because I asked him, I go, what do you do? And he goes, oh, I own some stocks and stuff. Talking about stocks, this, that, the other. And I told him, I said, you know, it's interesting, man. I go, you know, I bought a handful of Apple stocks, but I always kick myself because I'm like, if I had taken the money that I put into buying my house 20 years ago and put that money into Apple stock, I'd be like a multi-millionaire right now. And he goes, you know, Maz, he goes, because now we've had a conversation and we're kind of, you know, it's going well. And in my mind, I'm like, you know, Chip's not that bad of a guy. and he goes, you know, Maz, you got to ask yourself if you would have had the balls to do that. He goes, because you might not have had the, I go, you know what, you're right. I probably would not have had the balls to put that much money into just Apple stock, right? He goes, yeah, he's like Richard Pryor. He goes, like Richard Pryor, you know, had the balls to say the N-word, but he didn't say the N-word. He actually said the N-word.
Oh, wow.
Right? And he goes, you got to ask yourself, would you have had the balls to say that? And I was kind of shocked. I was like, did he just say the N-word? And then I was like, do I correct him on this? Or what do I say? And then he continued going, and he goes, you know, like, for example, he goes, like, they can, you know, nowadays people, you know, they can say stuff about us whenever, like, they can say, like, whatever, you know, I don't know if he said cracker or something. Like, they can say things, like, maybe he said cracker about us and stuff, but, you know, we can't say, you know, he didn't say the N-word again, but he said, we can't say that word. And I goes, like, and first of all, I had so much going through my mind, because I was like, as a comedian, I'm like, oh, this could be a bit. And I'm like, Because part of it I want to be like, do I break his heart and let him know that I'm not one of him? Like, he's saying they can say the cracker about us. Do I go like, you know, like, I go, hey, Chip, I got some bad news. I'm not one of you, man. You know, like, you're about to get hijacked. But I didn't say anything back because, again, I was so shocked. And then again, I think my mind was thinking about the bit, and I actually tried it as a bit on stage, and it got some laughs. But then I didn't keep doing it and then I was doing an interview with someone. Someone's writing a book on some similar subject of, like, you know, standing up for people and all this other stuff. And I was telling them the story, and that's when it really hit me. I was like, oh, I probably should have said, hey, man, you know, that's not the, you know, I don't know if you should be saying that. You know what I'm saying? Even if I said it like that, it's not like I'm going to fight the guy. And he wasn't like he was like saying it it's funny because the way he was saying it, he was using it as an example of having the balls to say things. And he was giving it credit to Richard Pryor, who, by the way, is like, you know, one of the gods of comedy, and he's a black guy. So it was an interesting thing.
Who stopped saying the word, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. So it was that was the bit he talks about when he goes to Africa, right? Yeah. So anyway, that was one of those things where, as time has gone by, I was like, I should have said something. Again, I'm not a very confrontational person. I shouldn't have been like, what did you say?
Say it to Chip now, though. What would you have said?
Chip, don't use. Just say the N-word. And then I know what you're saying. You don't have to say the actual word, because it's just it's kind of a disgusting word. I mean, it is a disgusting word.
He probably learned it at home. He's a chip off the old block.
Hey, there you go. You're a chip off the old block. Yeah. And by the way, Chip, I get your point. You got to have balls to do and say certain things. Because by the way, we both know in the world of comedy now, there's a lot of comedians who talk about like, oh, you get canceled. I can't say this.
The excuse so they could say some of the most horrible things that they've always wanted to say.
Yeah, and I also go, no, maybe you should evolve with the times.
And write a better joke.
Write a better joke, dude.
Yeah.
Right?
But, you're speaking to a base of people who speak like that.
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah.
But I think that what I've been discovering now through my studies, because I'm studying comedy, because if I don't dive into it and find some rationale, it makes me want to quit it, right?
Yeah.
So there's like two sectors of people. Like there's like the pop culture enthusiasts, and then the comedy connoisseurs.
Right.
And the real comedy connoisseurs who really understand comedy, they don't go to shows to yell out so that they can be on a TikTok video.
Right.
Very different than those people who love comedians because they're on TikTok. They like the music because it's on. It's a whole different section, and I try my best to steer clear of them.
Yeah.
Because they make me sad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I respect you for even saying that out loud, because the fact that you feel bad about it speaks to your humanity, because some people would just go about their business like nothing happened.
Yeah, again, I think that also, by the way, sometimes you don't say something or you don't do something because you're shocked.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And we're human beings, right? We're not Jason Bourne ready to go.
Yeah, no. I
You know what I'm saying?
I have a black friend who was standing in the presence of someone who said the N-word in front of her, and she said she didn't say anything because she was so shocked by how cavalier the person was.
Yeah.
And then later she had a delayed reaction and she felt bad about herself, and she was like, I should have stood up. And I was like, what are you gonna say to somebody who talks like that?
Yeah, and I guess listen, I've seen people say and do things that I was kind of envious of. First of all, I have, like, every time I go to the doctor and they take my blood pressure, I have a lower blood pressure. I'm kind of like my blood's pumping slower.
Yeah.
And they say you have a runner's blood pressure, and I do my heartbeat and stuff, I should say, is lower, and it's just like I'm just a calmer person to the point where, like, if I get cut off in traffic, by the time it comes to my mind to honk and scream at the guy, he's already gone. So, but that said, I've seen, like, I just thought of something, like when I was in college, I studied abroad in Italy one year, and they had, as students, what would happen is there was all these drug addicts that would, like, hang around the train station, and they'd go around town. It was Padua, and they would steal people's bikes, and then we'd color them, and then they'd bring it to the student, housing, and they'd sell it to us for like $20.
The bike that they stole.
The bike that they stole, and they painted it, so we'd all be buying bikes, right? Mm-hmm. So I was sitting there one time outside of a store, and I saw this girl pull up with her bike, and she got off the bike, and she didn't lock it up, and she walked into the store, and I'm just standing there. I forget what I was waiting for, but I saw one of these, drug addicts kind of come over and grab the bike, and again, in shock, like, if I had known how to spring to action, I would have like said, hey, whatever, or grabbed the guy, or said something and stopped this robbery. But I was just shocked. I was like, and he was gone. Now, separately, and again, my reaction time is a lot slower. Separately, I was on a train one time, I think in Rome, and there was this guy, older Italian man, probably like, he had gray hair, so he's probably like late 60s, early 70s, but like dressed really impeccably, really nice, like overcoat, just kind of like this dude, like a man's man kind of guy, just like, he seemed like a businessman or someone, whatever. Just something about him was, like, I could tell this guy was, he had an air to him, and it was a packed subway. And I just remember at one point we came to a stop, and I see him grab somebody by the collar, and he goes, disgraziato, which means, like, disgrace. And like, he throws him out, and I'm going, what just happened? And I pieced it together based on the people's other reactions. I guess he saw this person trying to pickpocket somebody, and he jumped into action, grabbed the guy by the collar, this older guy, grabbed this younger guy, and didn't say, like, F you. He goes, like, you're a disgrace, which is even worse. And just, like, once the door opened, he threw him out. And I go, I wish I had the balls to do that, or the wherewithal. And you know what I'm saying?
You were in a scene of The Godfather 5.
It
You
was
didn't
like
even
that.
know.
Yeah, I'm like, this guy's got. But so sometimes I envy that like ability to jump into action. Like if somebody, like I've seen people. Again, it's all about going back to the chip situation. It's all about how you approach it. Either you're that person who goes like, hey man, if you're don't say that. You're either that kind of person, or again, you could be very diplomatic about it and go, could you just not? I don't think that's. I don't think you should be saying that. Especially don't say it around me. Because again, I'm not going to hate you, but I'd rather have you evolve.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Or know that they can't say that around you.
Don't say it around me.
You're not my people.
Yeah, that's all. That's all. So now, if I run into him again, and if he finds another excuse to say it, he'd be like, you know what other comedian I like? Eddie Murphy. I'm like, oh, here we go.
Oh my
Here
God.
we go.
That poor gay people, if that's the case.
Oh gosh. Oh yeah.
So here we do a segment called Shoulda Kept That, where people reach out to us via email, our newsletter, or social media and share stories where they wish they would have kept what they said,
right?
Where they said too much.
Okay.
And I'm gonna share this with you because I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay.
I was at a family reunion and saw a long lost cousin. She looked great and she was glowing. So I asked when the baby was due.
Oh.
She was not pregnant.
Oh. Yeah, that's always, listen, I've become so sensitive to that because, as comedians, when we do a meet and greet, I've learned not to assume anything. So as the person approaches me, if they look pregnant, I'm not going to say anything until they go, oh, he's coming in a month. And I go, oh, congratulations, Similarly, like if they're, I don't know, if they look like somebody who I probably should know from, let's say because I've done different things, right? So I feel like, oh, that's my fan from that movie, that's my fan from that, based on just the demographic. I don't assume anything.
Yeah, it's really harsh when you're sitting there in the presence to find out that someone just has a fibroid.
Yeah.
And listen, it wasn't pretty. Okay, so now we do this lightning round and we get to know you better through these 5 questions.
Okie doke.
Smash or pass a grapefruit?
Pass.
Okay, you don't like grapefruit?
No, it's a little too bitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you rather the cinema or Netflix?
Ooh, would I rather cinema or Netflix? I'd be lying if I said, I'd like to go to the cinema. Sure, let's go have some popcorn. Cinema.
Okay. What's your favorite curse word? Hey!
Which got me in trouble recently, but go on.
Oh, did it? Why?
Because I got on stage and I was at the Ha and they're playing this like usually they don't play that much music. They were playing Persian music as I walked on, and then there was a group of like young Persian guys who were influencers over on the right, and they're dancing. So they start dancing, so I start dancing, and I'm like clapping, dance, and there's a guy in the front who kind of looks just very stiff and he's not doing anything. So as I'm dancing, it clocks in my head, once the music stops, I'm going to pick on this guy. So I'm like, guys, I got to tell you, I come out here, I'm singing, I'm dancing, I'm giving you everything I got. And I go, this and it's like this very like traditional Armenian guy. Right away he goes, no. I go, what? He goes, you don't say I go, no, it's a term. And then he like got up, he wanted to fight me.
Oh, snap.
And then Jack Jr. came over and like he said something to him in Armenian and he sat there. And I had the choice again of either like going at him, in an aggressive way, because other people were like, you can call me again. I was like, no, guys, calm down. And I decided to go the other way. I'm doing Tai Chi on stage.
Okay.
I go, hey. I go, hey man, I go, no disrespect. I know I'm, Persian culture. I know it, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it as that, this, that, the other. And then it became funny because later on in my set, I was telling a story where I ran across somebody and I called them and I go, blah, 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 blah. And I go, listen, and then I go, I mean them, not you, sir. And then it became a thing. So the rest of the night, anybody would come up, they'd be like, what's up?
Oh, no.
Not to him, to everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, but it's a great word though.
It is a great word. It encompasses so much.
Yes.
Fight or flight? 5 ninjas.
Oh, flight. Why would I fight 5 ninjas?
I mean, you have no idea. Some people are really conflict driven.
Yeah.
And they have been here in the last couple of days.
No, but if you said to me like fight or flight, like, you know, I don't know, whatever, 10-year-olds that want to fight you, I go, I'll take them on.
I'll fight the 10-year-olds, but not the ninjas.
5 ninjas. I'm not fighting one ninja.
But 5 10-year-olds are ninjas.
Yeah, right. That's true. That's true.
Okay, and this question I ask everyone who sits on that seat. If you could say something to your favorite teacher, what would it be?
Oh man, I had a couple of favorite teachers, and I've been lucky enough to stay in touch with them. So I'm gonna give it to both of them. One of them was Mr. Thompson, who just made school fun, and he was somebody who would elevate you with his words and just give you confidence. So I appreciate you, Mr. Thompson. And the other one is my drama teacher, Michelle Swanson, who told me, she said, she goes, you got what it takes to make it in this business. And I appreciate her for giving me the confidence to do this.
We thank your teachers too, because I think it's important, so many of us are affected by teachers. We love our teachers.
Absolutely. I actually just I was on George Lopez's podcast maybe a couple years ago, and we were talking about your guardian angels. And there was another gentleman named Joe Ryan, who was this gentleman when I was working in an advertising agency, and I've been bouncing around careers and stuff, and I was in my mid-20s. And Joe also said, he saw me doing something. He goes, "You're funny. Have you ever thought about doing this?" I go, "Joe, I'm gonna try and save up some money, and then I'm gonna go for it when I'm in my 30s." And he goes, "Listen, I'm in my 60s now." And he goes, "When I was in my 20s, there were some things that I wanted to do that I didn't do." So he goes, "If you want to do it, you should go for it." And he was a guardian angel at the right time that helped, push me in that direction, as were these two teachers I told you. And I constantly am, now with having kids and my nephew, I'm always hoping that they find a teacher that inspires them, because teachers can really make you, even more than because your parents are kind of like, your parents are, they can be a little more conflicting with you and a little more adversarial.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Do this, do that, do this. But a teacher, they can, if they're the right teacher, they can make a big difference.
Yeah. Well, we thank your teachers. Can you tell everybody where they can find you and what you got going on?
Yes, I'm on social media at Maz Jobrani. I'll spell it for you, MazJobrani. Also, I'm on tour, mazjobrani.com. I'm going to be in Denver, San Jose, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and then Europe. So if you're any of these places, or just go to mazjobrani.com. I'm constantly touring because we're doing construction on our house, and I got to pay for it. So please buy a ticket. That's it. Yeah.
Oh, a house. What a noble concept.
I know.
Thank you so much for being here, Maz.
Thank you for having me.
This is actually so much fun. You are always just such a delight. You've never given bitter. And that's why we love you so much.
That's why I don't like grapefruits.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. Catch up with us on socials. We are at SWYM Pod on TikTok, Instagram, and X. If you are watching this, click the subscribe button. We want to hear from you in the comments section. Tell us your stories about those moments where you wish you would have said something, or you should have kept that. If you are listening, download the episode, become a member, do whatever you need to do, and tell a friend, because we want to continue to grow this village. We are so excited to be a part of yours, and we are excited for you to be a part of ours. My name is Aida Rodriguez. This is Say What You Mean. We are out.